Greetings, pals.
Greetings, pals.
Greetings, pals.
And welcome to the podcast Star on the Pal. My name is Frank.
My name is Marcus.
My name is Tom.
And this is the podcast where we talk about movies, levels. Damn it.
Oh,
I was
dear.
I've been warming up all day.
Okay.
Red leather, yellow leather. Love it or hate it, we debate it.
Do you know any other tongue twisters besides that?
Red lorry, yellow lorry.
What does that help with? Because surely the red
Lorry.
unique New York.
You know you need unique. Okay, what are we doing? We're talking about Once We're Warriors.
Feels like we're avoiding something.
You a bit nervous?
I don't know if nervous is the right word. I think this is going to be quite an episode.
1994.
1994.
New Zealand film. MA 15 plus is surprising.
Yes.
Thought it would
Is
have
it
been
Frank?
Thought it would have been R. Honestly.
Directed by Lee Tamahori.
Yes.
Yeah.
Starring Rena Owen and
Temuera
Temuera Morrison.
Yes.
It's kind of
Cliff Curtis. Not Cliff Curtis. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Cliff
Cliff
Curtis.
Curtis in
As
a very
Bullet.
early role. This is my... Sorry, I know we're jumping very far ahead.
Go on.
Didn't realise he was New Zealand, or Kiwi.
Really?
I've seen him in so many American films. And I read an interview with him recently where he talks about that, like, people of color obviously have difficulty in Hollywood, but he's been very lucky because he's like, I'm just like an equal opportunity ethnic guy. Like, I could be in 10,000 BC, I can be in Training Day, I can be in Blow as Pablo Escobar. You need someone who looks foreign or ethnic, I'm that guy. And I'm like, yeah, he kind of has that niche, and he's great. I love it when he shows up in things.
He just slots in.
Yeah, he's in.
Straight in.
Speaking of slotting in, we rate films out of 11 normally.
We do.
Why, Tom?
My 11 gimmick that I do every week.
Yep.
Just doing something funny
Yep,
and like
funny and
lighthearted.
lighthearted.
Yep. Drag it out further. Keep going.
Pass for this movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
Pass. Hard pass.
I finished this movie 30 minutes ago
Yeah.
and walked in to record. I'm still shaking. Like,
That's a rough way to start a recording day, Frank.
yeah, thanks.
I think this was a film that when I suggested it, I thought you would have time to watch, process, think about, and you've just gone.
No, I think I want to do it raw, like
You've
a
raw dogged
fucking exposed nerve, and I'm just here tingling.
Okay.
I don't have any time, pal. Also, thanks for suggesting this movie. Wow.
Sorry.
So, Tom, no 11. We normally rate films out of 11.
I
because
guess we could all try, say,
That's
11
fine.
in a Kiwi accent.
11.
Or we don't have to. I'm not very good at...
Now I'll try.
I'm not very good at New Zealand accents. Can you?
Oh, no, I don't want to fail.
The very
we go.
obvious one that we grew up with was fish and chips.
11.
That's not bad.
11?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'll keep saying it until it sounds right,
11.
I think.
The only sentence I can say, because I've watched this movie a lot and it's the funniest sentence in the movie, is in Hunt for the Wilder People, where Ricky Baker ends up in that dude's house. He's like, "Oh my God, Ricky Baker! Oh, I can't believe you're in my house!" Like, I
Even
love
that's
that
like
guy.
a bit shaky.
But that
you sound almost
that's
British.
the only way to sort of try and sell it is if you do it in that
Taika
that-
Waititi
that
dialect.
higher octave sort
Yeah.
of Maori accent.
Oh, hey, bro.
Oh, hey, bro.
True.
Yeah. So shout your name if you like this film, bro.
Tom.
Marcus.
Frank.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so upsetting, but gee, it's a good film. Gee, it's affecting.
It's incredibly effective.
We spoke recently about Raging Bull and emotionality and like the dark side of humanity and exposing that and exploring that, and like that has no payoff or reward or anything for the audience, in my opinion. This film has such I don't want to say reward, because that's not the right word.
It has catharsis.
Yeah, you feel
Somewhat,
like
yes. Yep.
rewarded for going through the journey. And that last scene, we'll talk about it later, but you're very...
I think if I can quote
you're
Tom,
relieved.
it was, "Hoo boy."
Who boy? I did.
Who boy is right.
I watched this yesterday and I sent a group text to you guys saying, just watched Once We're Warriors, who boy.
Yeah.
But I agree, it's a very effective film. It's the second film in the last few weeks that we've looked at, when you say Raging Bull, about a very angry man named Jake who hits a lot of people. And
Yep.
This is,
Yep.
it's part of that canon.
Yeah.
So,
And all the Jakes I know, I guess.
yeah.
So I
Numbers? Scores.
Oh, numbers. We
Scores.
should. I'm so sorry.
Please.
9.4.
Okay, well, I wasn't ready.
Get the fuck out of town. I'm a 9.4 as well.
Really?
That's nice.
That is
That's
nice.
the nicest thing that's going to happen in this episode.
I'll be a 6.7. Yeah.
I'm curious with you, Frank,
Yeah.
when it comes to scoring, because you always do this little shrug. You're like, I'm gonna do, and it's like you think of it in real time. Do you ever actually write down your scores?
No, I don't write down anything.
Okay.
I don't actually know how to write or read,
No,
as we
we
know.
know.
He knows how to wrong. He's really good at that.
I can turn left.
Sorry. So back on what I was saying, I picked this film initially because I am in this mode at the moment where I'm really wanting to share some films with you two that I know you haven't seen, for example, and that I feel are either very culturally impactful or impactful to me in my life at some capacity.
So you had seen this before?
Yeah.
On
a lot of
average,
times.
yeah.
Honestly, probably once a year.
Wow.
I watch it a lot.
You'll sit through it once a year.
Is that 100% true?
Yeah.
Oh, right. You're not doing the
I've
bit.
never made those stats up. I've never made
Let's
those
be
stats
fair,
up.
you
Marcus
say it
writes-
about every movie, though. So
Yeah, because I rewatch a lot of films.
There's 365 days a year.
That's true.
Sometimes
And Tom,
366.
you watch films every day of the year.
Yeah, but I almost always... Well, I'm bad at rewatching movies these days. Anyway, I had no idea you watched
You've
this
already seen
so-
Sinners twice.
That's true. Good movie.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Marcus,
Yeah, in case they haven't seen
how
it.
many times would you say around about ballpark you've seen this?
I first watched it when I was 13. So
Wow.
I've watched...
So 40 times. Because you're
Yeah,
50.
I mean, obviously, I might have taken a gap year. Like,
Of course. To go to Europe. Try
I'm
out
saying,
the
Really
like-
find himself.
I would be surprised if I got through an entire 365 and hadn't rewatched it.
I
Yeah.
had no idea. This is a very meaningful film for you.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
of your-
yes.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that because
I honestly think it's in my top. I'm going to say I'll be generous. Top 15 films of all time.
wow, awesome.
But it's only, I guess it's the same as what you gave American Beauty. So, Tom, Tom had a very visceral reaction and was, I guess, hesitant almost to do this record. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, there's a lot going on
Why
in this
did you
film.
ask the question like that?
What did you think about
Let's
that?
push him in, see if he can swim.
Do you work for Vanity Fair? What are we doing right now?
I'll be pretty unfair.
I think that this film is like a bit of a perfect storm of a lot of things that we especially aren't particularly equipped to talk about. But I am very heartened to hear you say, Marcus, that like it's a film you have a very long-standing affection for. Maybe affection's the wrong word. Well, it's a film you really enjoy.
I would say affection.
Yeah, and you've seen it a lot. It is obviously a film about the Maori people, which, by the way, they even say it in this movie, Maori, but like
Yeah,
it is-
Maori, but
it's
Māori.
Maori sort of is the more, and I'm not even getting it right there. But
We're Australian. It's
I've,
fine.
Yes.
the direction I've been given is to say moldy, like moldy bread.
interesting, but it's kind of like the R is like you roll it a bit. Yeah.
Moldy. Apologies in
this
advance.
is kind of part of my thing. It's like
we'll cut this.
three white guys in a room talking about, so how do you pronounce Maori? Like,
also-
at least a few people right now are like, Jesus Christ. Anyway,
I think as mature adults, I think we can discuss heavy content for what it is. And
Absolutely.
I think as long as we're respectful of the
You're
way
pretty,
we are.
I mean, mature adults.
it's a probably
Yeah. No, but I think-
oversell.
I think he's...
I'm ready.
He's trying for aspiration. He's like, I'm hoping you guys. But I do think it's that aspect of it. Like, it's obviously Islander culture.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I mean, we did Blonde way back in the day. We're getting close to like 2 years since we covered
Like,
Blonde.
yeah, really
Yeah.
early.
And I think
Yeah.
we came into that episode and we were like, so this movie, pretty intense. And I would argue there is no movie I can think of that we've covered outside of that, and maybe Raging Bull, but I don't think Raging Bull is
Not in the same way.
No, it's not as prolonged. The assaults in this movie on women and the mayhem through which they live and are accosted by the
Yeah.
men around them is like harrowing, is skin crawling and so claustrophobic at certain points. You're like, this is in many ways one of the most tragic films and one of the most angering films I've ever seen. Like, it incites you to rage.
There's
that
also
this can happen.
Yeah, and it feels so based in reality. Like, it's obviously it's based off a book, so you just feel like there's this, I don't know, lived quality in everyone who's in the scenes and who's directing it and who's behind it in the creative team. It's like everything feels like they've seen that, they've actually done that, or they have some visceral experience that relates to this. It is so intertwined, like what you said, Tom, about how upsetting it is. It's also intertwined with such joy and such strength of character from the women in this film. It's
true.
it's like really uplifting, and yet all you want to do is say, why just walk away, which is obviously every domestic abuse conversation is, why didn't you just leave him usually. But like that's just like, oh, like that's not how it works in an actual situation, and it's so hard to leave when you're in these situations. And
it's a very good film at addressing the complexity of that. There's a number of scenes as to why this, whether it's recent books that have come out like Look What You Made Me Do, which explore domestic violence in Australia and the issues of how interconnected and how pressured women can feel to stay in a relationship and the fear that leaving will be more dangerous. And of course, there's a huge part of that here. But yes, sorry, Marcus.
No. This really goes to showcase just how good of a job Tamara Morrison did in this as well, because he gives. And what I've written about this film is, to me, this whole film is about two sides of a coin. There's the flip side to everything. You've got Tamara Morrison as Jake the Muss.
Yeah,
I think it might be Timuera. I could be wrong, but I'm not in 100%.
We can fact check that. I always thought it
yeah.
was Tamara, so I do.
Yeah, I think it's like an extra syllable in there somewhere. But anyway, go
on. He lends such a charm to his character that you can see why at a point you're like, I can see why you're going back, but please stop.
And this is the movie does such a great job. The first 10 minutes, he's so likable and joyful. He comes in with the seafood, and it's like, oh, this guy, he's like, he's gotten back from wherever, he's providing, he's caring, he's fun. Yeah. He's obviously, he loves his wife passionately.
Yeah.
Turns like that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Scary.
And a lot of the film does explore that two sides of a coin mentality of, you see Rena Owen as the protective mother. She's got this hard exterior, this shell that she has, but on the inside she's damaged and broken and soft and just wants to be nurtured and loved, and you never get that. And then you get the son, the oldest son's is it Zig?
No, his name is Nig.
Nig, who he effectively goes and decides to break away from the family and join a gang. But you see the gang, his initiation into the gang being beaten and beaten and beaten. And yet this brotherhood that he's now formed with these guys, they would die for him. They would kill for him.
And he chooses that over family.
Yeah. And that's the two sides to that coin as well. Every character has these
duality.
It's duality, of course. And it's really and just, I just want to go back on Rena Owens, man. She is so powerful.
I think this is one of the best performances I've ever seen from her. And I think Morrison's really good as Jake. There's an iconography there that is because of the depravity of the man and how able he is to be charismatic and yet monstrous. Her performance is elemental. There is something about her in this film that shook me in so many scenes. I just kept being I'm physically having a reaction to watching her. I've never seen her in anything else. She's apparently in Star Wars Episode 2, and I think Episode 3 is a different character, and there's some credits to her, but I've never seen her in anything else.
Frank can pull up the IMDb.
She looks remarkably similar. You guys know Kelly, friend of the pod, who's my mate. She looks very similar to his mum. And so I'm watching this movie, and I just kept kind of thinking, so similar to my mate's mum.
That in itself invokes some emotion.
Yeah, she's got 71 credits. She's done a lot of TV. Yeah, she's in Star Wars,
a lot of television, but I just don't think she had the career she should have had from this. Which obviously,
in terms of talent, no.
Oh goodness,
there is some there are a few scenes, obviously, but the one that landed for me where I gasped and said, "Oh no," out loud was when she found the journal.
Yeah.
Because this film
silence.
Yeah, this film does such a good job of you're going through it, right, and there's spoilers, right? There's the scene where Grace is assaulted.
We haven't really done should we quickly do a plot?
I was going to ask, has there been any sort of synopsis yet for those?
And it's a sort of plotless movie in a very big way.
It's just
one of its biggest criticisms.
It's a story of a family, there's a family descended from Moldy warriors is... Oh, God. Bedveld. Tom?
I'm sorry, I can't see what you've got written there.
Oh, Frank.
Should we just try and give a synopsis off the top of our heads?
Sure.
Because I can't read.
It's a family living in New Zealand. Descendant from... it's a Maori family.
Bedeviled.
And, I assumed, holy shit. No, we need to take this moment. I assumed it was a Māori word that you didn't know how to pronounce. And I was like, I'm not going to know it. No, it was
English.
bedevil.
It's English.
It's all the way over there.
Oh, it's good we can laugh.
We have to
So
to relieve the
funny.
stress.
Yes.
Okay, bedeviled by a violent father and the societal problems of being treated as outcasts.
Yeah.
Sure.
Which is basically you've got
Jake the
4
Mus.
kids. You've got Jake the dad.
Yep.
You've got
There's heavy social themes here. There's cultural themes. There's
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are effectively as a viewer, and again the criticism of this film is that there's not much of a story. You're literally just seeing a day in the life of a family within reason, right?
Yeah.
Other than people maybe wanting to better themselves or better their situation or to move forward in life, you don't get a lot else than that. So you do feel as a viewer, you are a fly on the wall watching this family.
Yeah, it's not like a call to action or a hero's journey or any sort of story circle BS. It's just this is what happens.
Yeah.
This is what happens in real life.
Very poignantly rendered. Like it is just, you feel the domestic sort of strangeness and vicissitudes that they experience from these parties, these wild like bacchanals that they have that then lead into drunken like fucking skin crawling
And it
violence.
feels so raw and grounded,
Very
and-
abrupt.
and lived in.
And yeah, things happen quickly, and then like smash cut to the next morning. They're cleaning up, and then like each scene at the dinner table was so rewarding for me. It's like she pulls out the loaf of bread and just dumps the white bread on the table, and like just little things. You're like, that's how people live.
Yeah.
Like it was. Here's the gravy for the roast, and she's just happy to provide for her family at that
Yep.
point. Like,
Yep.
Grace and Boogie listening when they all come back, and Morrison and Owen are singing.
oh yes, yes, yes.
And
sorry.
she
But
says, but that's it.
To the
It's
nice
like,
part.
Yeah.
I love it when they're like this, and that by itself, that early in the film, you're like, is this just going to be kind of like a sweet, tender drama? Like, I truly didn't know what this movie was about. So I was like, the title is very ominous.
Yeah.
And Jake has demonstrated a capacity for anger and violence, but it really kicks off from there. The thing about Jake that, as you guys were saying, is he's very charismatic, he's very appealing. The opening of the film makes him seem like kind of avuncular parental figure. But then he does yell, he does lose it. Her name's Becky or Beth? Reno Owens' character.
It's Beth, yeah, Beth.
He does yell at her when she gets upset at him for losing his job. And the scene that's kind of the key to the movie in retrospect is when he goes to the pub with his mates and the woman gets up to sing and there's the dickhead who puts the jukebox on.
Yeah.
And Jake goes and beats him up. And that's your hero moment where you're like, yeah, he stands up for this woman. He beats up this guy. He's respectful. Like he's got his head on straight. And of course, everything that follows after that is like, it doesn't matter who's in his way. It doesn't matter. He will exercise that violence on anyone.
Yeah, it's not
He
for
doesn't
it. Just
discriminate.
happened. It just happened to be for a just
That
cause.
was the
at that
one
first
context
Yeah.
where that becomes a heroic act.
Yeah.
But that's
Which is it's a red herring almost.
100%.
Yeah. Because
Yes.
the thing is, I don't know if it comes from now knowing him as Django Fett, etc. You're like, oh, I
He's
like
Django Fett.
this guy, right?
Yeah.
You like him, and he's got a likable face, and he's
great
just,
voice
oh my gosh,
and singing voice.
Oh my
I had no idea he
gosh.
could sing. He's got a wonderful
Outside
singing
of playing
voice.
Jake the Mus, and when he was in New Zealand, he was doing, I think it was TV. He's playing a nice character.
Yeah, he's like-
I think he's in a hospital or something, and he's just a nice dude. And so this was tough for him because he has to come in, play Jake the Mus, put on a bunch of size because he's not a naturally big dude. And then go
was
back
big, yeah.
after the film and continue doing this series back to Mr. Nice Guy. He said he found that was the biggest challenge was switching back and turning off Jake. And he would walk around New Zealand or anywhere effectively, and if he was recognised, people are picking fights with him.
yeah,
It's insane.
because he does it so well. There's such a reality to him.
He's terrifying. He's one of the
insane.
scariest
But
people I've ever seen
also
in a movie.
there's a strange feeling in this film. It's what
4?
1994. I don't know if it's the style of the dialogue or the style of the acting. Like you obviously have some elite actors, and then you
Yes,
have
yes.
some, let's say, learning to act. First couple of films, maybe they didn't take it as their whole career.
I would argue that Rena is basically the anchor point for everyone to
Beth, the mother,
correct,
Yep.
to work off of. And then you do start to see some weaker links in the chain.
Yeah.
But instead of looking at it as these actors look inexperienced or not up to scratch, I look at it as they feel real. They feel like real.
This is what I was going to say. I
Yeah.
don't think it's a detriment to the film
Not at
that they
all.
are sort of. I mean, their line readings are a little bit oh, that's not what you'd expect. A little, not wooden, but sort of slower. Like there's a slow pace to everything, and things are really drawn out.
A bit of an awkwardness to it as well. I
Yeah.
guess.
Which is what teenagers are like. So it feels.
Yeah, and the
yes.
young kid as well. Like I really liked it, and I was thinking, like halfway through, I was like, is that bad or is it working for me? Like it was I was juggling it in my head.
I think the
I
best
like it.
example of it is the kid, the friend who lives in the car under the bridge.
I think his name's Toot in it.
Toot, yeah.
'Cause he toot.
Toot would, on paper, he's not the strongest in the cast. I think, in fact, I'd say probably the weakest. But
Really?
yeah. Well, in my opinion, I found that at times and it's more of a camera technique and everything like that. You could see when he's either thinking of the line or he's looking. His eye line's really off a lot of the film. And
there's one scene where they're
feel
smoking
like
the joint together.
Yeah.
and he's like doing the stoned laugh, and you're like, are you uncomfortable?
Yeah,
There was that moment.
It feels very forced at times, and it is uncomfortable, but it sells.
In the context of the whole thing, I don't think it's not a detriment.
It always worked for me. And I know what you guys mean, that there's a stilted quality to some unpracticed actors who come in and don't have that.
It's a technique thing. That's all it is. It's literally, you can tell.
And it captures something that's a little bit more raw and a little bit more spontaneous that I find really compelling. I think the actress who plays Grace, and I have to apologize, her name is very confused. It's like Mama Ngoran, like her first name, and her last name's Kirby.
Go for it, Frank. Read it.
Yeah.
No. I think Tom was pretty close.
It's I apologize. It's a very long Māori name, but she is fantastic. She breaks my heart continually in the film. There's a quality to her that came through. Obviously, she came with a friend to read. It's got a very like Mel Gibson-esque sort of backstory to it, where she came with a friend to read for the movie, and the casting agents were like, "Do you want to read?" Like you, and they were just like, there was something about this girl that was like a timeless old soul, and when she smiles in this film, it like radiates out of the picture.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
when she is like, what she goes through fucks me up more than almost hard to think of other characters that have a more trying ordeal that is more affecting in a film than what she endures.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
so
She's so good.
there's such a believable darkness and sadness to it, like which is such a horrible thing to say because she's an actress who has 5 credits.
She's not done. She's like a real estate agent now. I think up in Cairns, but she's like
She's done enough.
done
You know
a
what I mean? Like that's
fantastic job
if
in
that's
this.
what you've done, that's
You know
incredible.
who is playing the older son, by the way, playing Nick.
I know he's a director now in New Zealand.
That's APOC, The Matrix.
Oh, and of course he did continue acting. I don't know if he acts anymore now.
His
That's
name's
fuck.
Julian
Arahanga.
Yes,
So great.
And it's I saw, and like probably the second scene he was in, I was like, God damn, that guy's familiar. And I looked him up, I'm like, oh, it's APOC.
Frank, can I say, and this is a really niche reference, but do you know who he looks like in this in particular? He is spitting
I know who
image
you're
to
gonna-
me.
I-
No.
You?
No. No.
Oh, in your
In my
opinion.
sorry, spitting image to me
I know who.
of no. Go say it. You got to
Jesus
say
Christ, what have you said?
with arms wide open.
it. No. Oh,
What? He looks like Scott Stapp from Screed.
No, I was Screed.
Scott
The cover band
Screed.
These is my Screed.
where they scat all the songs.
Yeah. Skidoo-boop-a-doo-boop.
Who do you think he looks like, Mark?
Johnny Diesel, Mark Lazotte.
Oh. Yeah, sure,
show
I
you a
can see
photo.
that.
It blows my mind.
It's,
Anyway.
his name's right on the tip of my tongue.
I know the Lazottes.
Yeah.
So,
No, yeah.
Okay.
Look at that smug face.
Who doesn't?
I know who you're talking about.
He's a very famous man.
Yeah.
Now this might be a bit on the nose, but obviously
Wanker.
she's called Grace, which
The cutest line in the movie. Are you about to do it?
no. Not yet.
we
But
should
what I'm
say
saying,
Grace.
she is Grace. We should say Grace. That is a very cute line. I love
it's
it.
And he just goes, Grace. And you're expecting it to be.
And they pause.
And then the mum Beth
She
just
giggles.
laughs.
You think they're going to cry, and they laugh, and you're like, that's
what I
so
mean.
heartwarming.
It's intertwined with all this joy and beauty.
'Cause
God,
that's-
it's
there-
good.
obviously, there's two ways to
Excuse you.
to grieve, and they're just using this moment, thank God, to celebrate her.
Well, they've
in
had
that
so
moment.
much. They've had so much like
It's,
crying and grief and the funeral scene. Okay, did we do it? Oh, sorry, we have to talk about Grace's journey. Let's talk about
I'm going
Grace.
to quickly go back.
Marcus
So
had
Grace, the name Grace obviously is another way of saying hope, and I think that she's the only thing in this film that gives any sort of hope at one point. She's the hope for the family, hope for the future, and ultimately destroyed. And that's the most crushing thing in this film is that their one and only hope is destroyed.
She's their storyteller as well.
Yeah,
And
that's
this
right.
idea, there's so much lineage in the Māori people and so much going on about what it means to have been a warrior and what it means to have been tied to the old folks and the people. And it feels like that oral tradition standard and keeping narratives going is very much invested. Her story about the Taniwha, which I think is really, really cute that she writes these stories. And I looked it up. I didn't know anything about like the mythology here, but a Taniwha is basically like an oceanic guardian or monster. And I think that's a really pointed part of the movie, that duality as well. Like, can it be something brutal? Can it be something violent and malevolent? Or is there something generative and iterative in this family? And I think it's basically the choice between, do we stay with Jake or don't we? Because if we look at him as someone who's representative of that duality, it's lost. You know, he is irredeemable ultimately by the end. It's interesting to think that Alan Duff, who wrote the original book, did end up writing 2 more books about the character of Jake, and there's a sequel. Have you seen the sequel?
No.
And from what I can tell, it follows Jake. And I've heard it's a good movie, but I'm a little like, well, I don't know about spending more time with this guy. I think the book's shut on him, right?
And if you try and do a redemption arc, you don't like. I don't think he deserves it.
No, I think the power of the end of the movie is that it's like you are beyond.
But I think the first book is written to follow Jake more so, right? I think
I don't actually know.
I think my understanding of the initial book is that you actually do follow Jake from the get go.
Really,
and then I think that New Zealand film were like, we're not going to fund this because it's not marketable. We can't follow this guy.
Yeah.
And then the writer turned around and said, fuck it, we're going to follow Mum. Like, it's her journey.
Wow.
It's her.
Well,
good choice.
The person who adapted the book, Riwia Brown, and I'm not sure if I'm saying her first name properly, but it's Riwia.
Yes.
And so it is this thing where I was curious. I was like, I know the director's a man. I know the book was written by a man. And yet there's such a feminine sort of perspective to this.
Yes.
And it does come through that she was like, I'm going to recalibrate this and I'm going to make Grace and
it's
Beth.
such a good choice
It's
to
a
do it.
fucking excellent choice.
It
It would be,
saved it.
you couldn't watch this movie. It was just following.
it'd be like Raging Bull.
They end up in the I think in the third book, my understanding as well is that the kids grow up and they all become, real estate or lawyers or something. Like, they all get, into these professions, and they basically turn their back on their heritage and they start like effectively destroying the community. Like, it's not a nice ending. It doesn't improve from here on in.
God, it feels like the whole To Kill a Mockingbird, where Harper Lee wrote a second book and it was published after she died.
To Kill the Turkey.
Turns out Atticus is racist now. And everyone's like, what? Look at that guy.
That's a shame.
No, the turkey's fine, Frank.
The turkey's okay. This film is
pheasant?
obviously... This film obviously does have the subtextual and actually quite blunt, like colonization narrative to it as well, right? Like, it is about, very representative of the cops who show up and take Boogie home when they arrest him. Yeah. Very much like the court proceedings, which feel like, I don't think the judge is unfair, but I think it's the system, obviously, that lets this happen. But the judge is like, I don't really know what else I can do in this situation, right? Your parents haven't shown up and your lawyer is telling me you should probably go into...
your parents are unfit. Yeah. You've done some crimes.
Welfare.
All right, I guess you're in welfare.
I think the point of the story is that the Western culture did bleed into New Zealand, and it did destroy Māori culture for what it is. And so this is
it's the same here.
Again, the duality. You get traditional culture versus modern culture in this film, and Jake representing modern culture. The alcoholism that was brought through from Western culture and influence. Yeah. And he is just so disconnected from his roots, and it shows. And I think that's where a lot of his frustration stem from. There's that beautiful scene where they're sitting on the waterside, and she talks about, coming from, I don't know if she's necessarily royalty, but she comes from, like, in terms of the social class of her upbringing. I think that he coming and deriving from slaves, she not. She coming from a far more comfortable.
That's how I took it. Yeah, and
setting.
obviously their relationship wasn't accepted by her family, so he's bitter.
He has resentment towards the white colonizers, and he has resentment towards what he sees as the more like haughty Māori people who look down on him. And it's a very complicated history, which I know very, very little about. But like even without European colonization in New Zealand, there was a slave trade perpetuated by the Māoris on like a group of people who were in those islands. And it essentially constitutes a genocide. So it's like there's a whole host of stuff going on in the history there that we can't obviously get into, but Jake does represent the weird amalgamation of all that. And yet I don't think the movie excuses him. It doesn't go, well, you see...
he's so troubled.
All the history comes to this. I know that you've compared it to Raging Bull, but I still think that even though that's not a movie about a man, I think deserves pity. It's a movie about a man who has more of a capacity to recognize the way in which his monstrosity is destroying others. And Jake, the final thing is him just yelling, well, fuck off, go. Like, I don't need
Such
you.
a
And it's
pathetic, such an awful ending for him as a character.
So impotent, yeah.
Like, just way to be a loser.
Yeah.
Just going back to your initial question as to sort of why I chose this film, I just wanted to bring this up on the pod because this film's important to me because at the time, this film was introduced to me from my stepfather, Blakey, and he's a big influence on my entry into pop culture, whether it be music, film, TV, whatever. And I kid you not, and I'm 13 years old, within a span of, I reckon, a year and a half, I watched the likes of, because of him, American Beauty, American History X, Chopper,
Jesus.
Once Were Warriors.
Young Guns.
Yeah, sure, Young Guns. But
I watched Young Guns with you guys.
yeah. My point is, he really, at that point, sort of broke my world in the best way possible because all of a sudden I was seeing film for the first time for its heavier tones and for
At 13?
At 13, yeah. I mean, it's around the time where you discover you're hitting high school. You've got South Park on SBS. You've got all this shit, like you're oversaturated with, and all of a sudden your world opens up and you're like, fuck, I can say fuck.
See, my childhood is very different. To
Of
yours.
course
Yes, but
it
you've
is.
got to
Of course
understand
it
that
is.
you're the exception. In
Yes.
this
I don't think so.
Yours
I think
is
a nice
not.
closed religious household is good.
This gave me a deeper understanding of emotionality behind film and whether I could understand it fully but it took me. I started to process and understand that there was more to film, and there was like, shit, this is real narrative, this is real storytelling, and that's when and again that broke my world open. I was like, I want to be an actor because I feel I can empathize. I'm feeling something. I don't know how to describe it or talk about it.
It affected you.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you
truly
trickled
affecting.
that down to me because not that I saw all of those through you, but I definitely saw movies like American Beauty, like Fight Club.
Full Metal Jacket.
No, Full Metal Jacket I didn't watch through you, weirdly. I watched.
Okay, great.
it
That's
took
good
years.
to know.
But I watched California
Jesus, move on.
through you. Okay, I'm just
yeah.
saying, Marcus
California-
and I have. I'm
California
sorry
with a
that
K.
we're not talking about you at the moment,
sorry.
Frank.
Be less specific. Just like wrap it up.
I apologize.
Natural Born Killers was in this
You
yes,
showed me
yes,
Natural
yes.
Born Killers.
Quentin
You got to remember, at
Tarantino.
14, kids were watching Freddy Got Fingered. Like, that was not an unusual thing for people to just quote openly at school.
Yeah, I remember hearing Daddy wants some sausage, and I was like, it must be barbecue day.
the backwards man to the backwards man to the
There
backwards.
must have been some quotes you heard that you had less ability to write. Like, he fingers Freddy in his butthole. You must have been like, well, I don't really know how to square that
Kids
one.
in my school didn't quote that.
No, that would have been weird, I suppose.
God is great. God is good. And he thanks us for his food.
He thanks us
Oh, sorry.
for his
yeah.
food?
Yeah, we
he does.
provide.
Yeah. should we talk about Grace's
We
journey?
should cut that.
Yeah.
No, because you sounded great. God, it's great.
Grace. Is that what you want to talk about?
Okay, yeah, let's go from God is great to
Okay.
talk about Grace.
So fucking Uncle Bully, right? Uncle fucking Bully.
Uncle
Cliff
Bully.
Curtis looking like a snack and just really
Looking like what?
exploiting how.
This is not how I want to describe
well, he's so good looking, and I was just like, I think
He's a 7.
comparatively maybe.
I think he's pulling off the sleaze in a way that's very difficult to somehow make alluring. And he kind of looks like a respectable porn star, like essentially.
he's kind of like Austin Butler in The Bike Riders, you know what I mean? That
Sure.
good-looking bikey.
Although Austin Butler's almost like synthetically good looking in that
Okay,
movie.
well,
Like, it's kind of creepy, but I know what you
different
mean.
people.
This guy's a bit more grotty. But yes, he's doing that. And then Uncle Bully is a rapist.
Just awful.
The worst, because Grace.
Poor Cliff
And-
Curtis, I really feel for him here because he did not want this role. He read the script. He
Can't imagine
rejected it.
anyone wanting this
No,
role.
no, but he rejected it, and then
Yeah.
his auntie and his agent said, "No, you're doing it." And he's like, "Okay, I'm doing it."
I mean,
and
he's-
what happens? He does it. It's great. He does the role very well.
He's had a wonderful career.
Now he can't escape it.
I don't think that's true. I think he's
yeah.
not been typecast as dirty criminal rapist.
No.
which would
Sorry.
be easy
Let me
to do.
let me fix that. I think in terms of career, fine. He's fine. I think in terms of fan interaction, I think he has a lot of problems with this.
Really?
He's constantly
People are just
resurfaces.
mad at him?
Constantly. Like, people cannot disassociate him from this film purely
formative
because of
years
the
of his
content.
career. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's so upsetting how you see it coming. So they're having one of their drunken parties, right? And Grace comes down just to get a glass of water.
Give your uncle a kiss.
Oh, it's so disgusting. And you just see that look in his eye. And you know what's about to happen. And you're like, please no. Like, why is this happening? She's 13.
There was a slightly redeeming moment there where Jake is even like, what are you doing down here? Go to bed. You don't belong here now.
Oh, I didn't
remember
find no, because he say she goes, "Where's mum?" And he goes, "She's in bed where you should be." And it's like, oh, okay, sorry, man. I didn't find that redeeming.
I
felt
found that more of a fatherly tone as to get to bed. He's still drunk. He's still an asshole. He's still awful. But I think at that point I don't think he
was
ever
trying
clocked
to
it.
get out of there.
Get out of there. This is not the place for you now. It's all us guys. Your mum's not here. Go away. And she does, but it's, too little too late at that point.
Yeah, Bully follows her upstairs. And that scene
disgusting.
when he gets upstairs is so drawn out. Like, it's very brave for the film to give it such screen time.
There's no doubt it's the most horrifying scene we've watched as a pod. There is nothing we've watched even close to it.
Because I watched it today, right? And Tom, I knew you had messaged in the group, but that was the first one where I went, oh, well, this is why he's sent this message of, oh, boy.
Up to that point, I was like, this is pretty dark. And then once he goes into the room and it looks like he's going to try rape her, I was like, I have been trained by movies for years. Someone's going to come in and stop him. Yeah. Last second, Jake's going to burst in the door and pull him off. And he doesn't. And the camera's just like, you're in this with us. And like, this is happening. Yeah. And it just doesn't let
it's
up.
so claustrophobic. It's so close in.
It's horrifying.
And she is like, what a performance. Oh, it's really upsetting.
I have to say, I'm someone who's always a little bit like, I do subscribe to the notion that child actors maybe shouldn't be a thing. Like, it's such in any circumstance, in the best cases, I'm a little bit like, I'm so fucking devastated that she had to act that scene.
Yeah.
I really find that quite
That's going
upsetting.
through my mind 100%.
Yes.
She's such a... But it's so interesting now. It's like when they do kids in adults films now, they'll get reaction shots from the kids of, oh, shock, or they said something funny. And then the kid will go home and then the adult will do their variations on swearing or all these like things that are too adult for the kid to see. And it's like...
Yeah.
Where's the line? Like, they can't hear swearing, but they can do a scene like this. But they understand what it is.
There's no intimacy coordinators back in the 90s. Like,
No.
On a small budget New Zealand film.
This is a very different scenario, and I don't think that anyone would. I'd be very surprised if anyone could get away with shooting a scene like this.
It's not only that,
now.
I then find, and it's really, this is going to sound so random, but I, a couple of weeks ago, watched a movie called Wake and Fright at the cinemas, which is a 1971 Australian film, which is absolutely batshit and this crazy cult movie. And it's about like a guy going to a random town in like Box Hill essentially, and he just has a drunken weekend there. And one scene near the end of the movie is them shooting kangaroos, and it's a real kangaroo hunt. You see kangaroos get shot on screen.
Wow.
Did you tell me about this? Or
I
did
think I
stumble across
may
this?
have told you about it after I watched it. It was a few weeks
No,
ago.
you did. You did tell me about this. I searched
and
it.
I was watching this scene and I'm like, this is effective. This is communicating exactly what it's meant to about like the masculine toxicity that leads to such violence and mayhem. But did they have to shoot so many kangaroos? And not only this scene with Grace where she is raped by Cliff Curtis, then the bath scene where it's clearly her and she is like naked in the bath and you don't see quote unquote anything. But even that, I'm like, I really don't think we had to do this.
To be on set that day and be like, all right, take your clothes off in the bath, that's heavy. And she's doing such heavy material.
It communicates it. I feel exactly what the filmmaker wanted. I don't know if it was necessary.
She was 15, 16 at the time of filming. So
she's a little older than the character.
But that's still very
I think
young.
the most upsetting thing about that scene, more than her even in the bath, even though there is a scene where she sits up and she starts trying to like scrub away at herself and she's in so much pain. But when she gets out of the bath and she's scrubbing at her shirt and scrubbing at the sheets and Reno Owen comes in and says, oh, babe, you got your period. And she thinks it's this big moment where she's become a woman. And just that division between what has actually happened.
Isn't it? She's celebrating her daughter in this moment where she's
like, oh, you must have a lot of feelings.
Effectively the darkest place she could ever be.
You could make a list of the 10 most upsetting things in every movie, and this is on that list. It is so
Look, I apologize. All right.
Yeah.
I
this
felt,
was why
no,
I
I know,
messaged.
but I did. I did think this was important. I think this is it's so significant. I mean, this film put. Sorry, my thoughts are going everywhere here. I really thought it was important for you guys to see this.
It's an excellent film. I'm so glad I watched it.
It's important for a multitude of reasons, but like this put New Zealand on the map as well. And if you look at it that way, without that, we wouldn't be getting a lot of the films we've got now. I mean, effectively,
Thor Ragnarok.
If this if this
No,
hadn't have
Love
gone,
and Thunder,
Love
please.
Oh, the
if
good
this
one. The
hadn't
good
have gone
one.
international the way it did, we
Yeah.
may never have gotten the Lord of the Rings in New Zealand.
This is true. That's
Do you
a
know what
really
I
good
mean?
point.
Like, it paved the way for cultural topics, for social topics, for everything that it discusses.
And for
yes,
New Zealand as a creative hub,
Yeah.
like there's so much talent that comes out of that country.
And the
It's
cultural
incredible.
interest, you get movies like The Whale Rider after this. You get movies like Boy after
Yes.
this, which I think are really fantastic. But there was a vote by the New Zealand public, maybe in the last 10 years, for the best New Zealand films, and the three are Once Were Warriors, Boy, Whale Rider.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty fucking solid list for any country
Wait,
to
Lord
have.
of the Rings doesn't count?
Lord of the Rings, I don't think they count it as a
New Zealand film.
And you're right, it was filmed in New Zealand, but it would be arguable to watch that film and go, the culture of New Zealand.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's
If that's
represented
the-
by
if that's the
Middle
point
Earth.
of the list,
Yes,
then
I think it's
that's
like
not bad.
culturally Kiwi movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
I love Boy. I don't know if you guys have seen Boy. I know that's
That's
just-
Taika, yeah?
That's Taika,
Yeah, I
and I
have.
find
It's a great
Taika,
film.
as along with
Here's
most
the
of the
thing.
internet, very frustrating these
he
days.
plays
But
a-
Boy is great.
He plays a detestable uncle in that.
And-
No, dad.
He's the
He's
dad.
dad.
He's like
He's
an
the
absent
dad. He is
father.
the dad.
I'm your dad. Yeah.
That's right.
It's kind of
very
like
good.
not even the funny version of this, but you know what I
It
mean?
is-
It's like,
it is
but it's playing
I mean,
on
Boy
my father.
is funny, definitely.
Yeah, kind of the lighter version for sure.
Yeah.
He's not a Jake the Muss. But
No,
but,
gosh.
but he's an absent father. He's a
Yeah.
shit father.
And then Whale Rider again is dealing with
The dad
parental
rides off on a
figures
whale.
and Keisha Castle Hughes rides off on the whale, doesn't she?
Oh, well, then
And
where the
whale
dad?
brings her back.
No, I don't know. I've not seen
You've
it.
not seen it?
I'm just trying to bring some light.
The Whale Rider is a very good movie.
I should watch it.
It's great. The Haka. Can we talk about the Haka?
Oh my gosh. So yeah, please talk about the Haka.
There's just
Oh my
such a
God.
power to it. Like anytime you're watching any like celebration, anything to do with the ceremony of it, and that we get two different versions of sort of like Māori musical and communal sort of activity. And it comes in the haka in that scene, which is brilliant when he's at the welfare home, all the boys together in that shot going along
Yeah.
and showing them all.
I mean, that's incredible. But then when he gets off the phone from his mum, and then he does it solo, and he's just like screaming at the sky, doing the haka.
Always effective.
His character arc's really nice.
Boogies is great
probably-
because he disappears for so much of the movie. but
Tuangaroa Emil.
right.
Close.
As Boogie.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good.
He's really good when he's singing at Grace's funeral at the end. Maybe we'll come back to that. We should say Grace suffers this terrible attack and she goes to toot in one of the most heartbreaking scenes in a movie littered with heartbreaking scenes.
Yeah.
And she smokes weed with him and he kisses her on the lips. And there is so much that's tragic about that scene before you even get to the funeral and the moment that like I actually paused the movie.
In a similar instance to when her mum comes into the bathroom, you've had the same sort of
It could be a different thing.
misguided sort of approach.
That could be the sweetest moment between two
I know.
people, whether
Yeah.
it's a
and
friends
he
or not.
and he believes it to be like they're best
Yeah.
friends, have been friends for years,
and in
friends
any
forever.
other circumstance, it would have been probably perfect.
that
really
could
sweet,
have been
yeah.
a lovely thing. And because of what's happened to her, she says, "Fuck you. You're just like all the rest of them." She goes home and Uncle Bully asks for a kiss, and she says no. And Jake
Tells her to fuck off.
and
Forces.
rips her storybook apart. And she goes out the back, and you see a shot of the tree with the rope. And I was like, no, like, why?
but had you learnt by this point that
Nothing was.
Yeah.
That's it. I was like, no
Nothing is
one's
off the cards.
No
Nothing is
one's
off
going
the
to
cards.
stop the worst things from happening. And even when Beth gets home and there's the close up on Rena Owen seeing her daughter, her like just
You-
earth shattering cries. I still think
That-
maybe Grace is alive for the next 5 minutes, which was the most devastating part of it for me. Because she said to Jake at the hospital, she says, "Don't cry, it won't do any good." But I thought, well, maybe she's just in a coma. And then when she says to Jake, "I'm gonna take Grace home," I was like, so she's not well, but you're gonna take her home.
Yeah.
And then cut to the next scene and they're carrying a coffin. And I just fucking fell apart.
Yeah.
I was just so
That-
upset.
That moment when Beth goes and grabs her and they cut the body down, I don't think there's ever been a more
No.
alive moment on film.
I would agree that that's the most powerful scene in the entire film.
Comparable
is
to, I mean,
just.
Sean Penn in Mystic River. Is that my daughter in there?
I think this is better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
that kind of feeling of just pure fear and rage
Devastation.
and passion and
Just-
devastation.
yeah.
It's
I don't know if I like Sean Penn in that movie. Sorry, I know that's such a
No,
tangent.
it's fine.
But
Well,
anyway,
it's just the one that came to mind. I'm sorry.
I know what you mean. I think that's a good comparison.
It's funny because it's parodied online a bit. When I first watched it, I was like, "That's horrifying."
I think I had the same reaction when I was younger. I was like, "That is just like crazy acting," and years later, I was like, "That is crazy,
Crazy
acting."
acting,
Like the
yeah.
inflection changed a little. Grace dies.
But Jake is standing there watching, shell shocked, doing nothing. His friend shakes him. He still does nothing. You're like, what are you feeling at that moment? Like, let us in, like, but he can't handle it because obviously he feels guilty.
I think the only time that Jake really feels is when he's hammered drunk. Like truly, I think that he's only ever really in connection with his feelings and acts out on them incorrectly is when he's hammered drunk.
Can't access them when he's sober.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And they're there. You can see it. And I think it's a really good moment for him too because he locks up, he freezes, and you can see the cogs turning on the inside, but he doesn't know how to express it. That's it.
He has the capacity to like mimic a good father and a husband, or at least a convivial one.
Yeah. Yeah.
When he has something to give them. So with the opening, when he brings in the seafood, and then when they go on the drive and he's rented the car, and he's like, "Well, I'm king shit today. I've got the money, and I can be dad." Them singing "What's the Time, Mr. Wolf," which is a great song, which I'd never heard
1
before.
o'clock.
It's so good, and you're just like, "What's next?" Like it's the Bill Haley thing. It's just like they've got 12 to work with, baby. They're going through
Keep
them all.
singing it. Go around the clock.
But his singing's great, and
The beauty of that, the Maori culture of them singing, and they're singing at the parties, and everyone, I mean, you don't hear it, but everyone has beautiful voices, and it's that sort of like, look at the community in unison, and there's
no
harmonies.
one's bashful. No one's
They just go, let's
no
sing.
one's reserved.
Yeah!
Beth,
You're
you
like,
should
okay.
sing, and she's like, "Oh, go on, all right."
Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
Don't make me sing.
Don't make me sing.
don't make me sing, don't make me dance. It's very.
You come in right there.
It's a joyous film in times where it's not the most upsetting and sort of like grueling film you've seen. It's crazy how the weirdest thing that I thought was really compelling and an interesting choice is the opening credits are like,
I love.
I think they're fucking amazing, and they're like
good.
almost graphic novel-esque,
They're so good.
but kind of like grindhousey. I was like,
Yeah.
this feels
And-
like a
and-
really edgy
And
way
that
to
sort
open
of,
this
I
movie.
think, is the song playing over that sort of like a New Zealand rap almost.
Yeah, it may be.
Yeah.
I can't quite remember.
The soundtrack
songs
to this
anyway.
is really good.
Soundtrack
Cool soundtrack.
is awesome.
But even the end credits, when it's like the movie finishes, it's like end. Full letters of the whole screen. It's like, wow.
and we're out. It's so cool.
It's bold filmmaking. It's really stylishly done.
and
Yep.
beautifully
Heartfelt.
Yes.
And I think back to the shock factor that we were talking about earlier. I think that this is obviously very intentional, and I think they just went, "It's all or nothing on this, guys. We are going to give everything that we have to say on screen. We're not going to pull back.
Nah.
Take it or leave it." And I think that is the most important thing about this film is that it doesn't shy away from the conversation and the topics. And
Not in
it's
any
not
way.
for everyone.
No.
And I can see how there's a lot of people who are like, I will not accept that this is in film format. How dare you?
Yeah.
Which means it's working. It means that it's opening up a conversation at a deeper level where people don't want to discuss the harder conversations.
This is the best movie I've seen in a long time that I don't recommend.
Yeah.
Like if you're listening to this, maybe not. Like you might
I
really
said I'm sorry.
but like it's a great conversation I think we've had about it. It is really
But it's not a fun film. It's not like
No.
but I think there's a value in watching it. There's value in going through it and experiencing that with them.
It's a cult classic. I think it's important for people to watch it.
yeah.
I mean that.
And it walks a fine line constantly between trying to identify the aspects of there's so much association by Western culture and European culture that dates back obviously centuries, but even now that kind of happens with like savagery associated with Polynesians, Islanders, Indigenous Australians, what have you. And the idea is that this film engages with what a warrior can be in a way that is completely separate from the necessity of violence and the necessity
Being a
of
warrior doesn't mean you're violent.
No,
Like, yeah.
The ending part. We still should talk about Grace's funeral, but because we're here, Beth walks out of the bar, and the masked Jake comes after her, and she says to him, "Our people once were warriors," and it's one of the best examples ever of a movie using its title, and I punched the fucking air. Like, I was so excited she said that.
Because you don't, like you said at the start, the title is vague to what are you coming in for? And when she says it, you're like, oh, yes,
It's
you
a
were.
perfect
Yes, you were.
use.
Grammatically, too, it's very interesting. Like, once were warriors.
It could just be called Warriors. And it's
Yeah.
so interesting, that the choice was obviously it's alliterative, the once were warriors, which gives it that pop. But it is really, really great with the connection to the past.
Yeah.
And she says, our people once were warriors, but not like you. They had mana. They had spirit. And if I've survived you for 18 years, I can survive anything. Maybe you taught me that. And I started applauding.
I mean,
in my
it's
house.
such a
I was
stunning
just
line. Stunning
what a
line.
fucking incredible.
With a line that, with a movie that's full of, the dialogue is sometimes strange, sometimes wooden, sometimes weird. That is remarkable screenwriting.
Great writing.
Remarkable.
Incredible writing.
Wonderful stuff. And you are so joyful that they're just getting away from him. And then he just screams at her like, you'll fucking go back.
Yeah.
You want me. You can't fucking be anything without me. And he's just screaming like an absolute loser.
Yeah.
It's so rewarding.
He's got nothing.
Why didn't that happen in Raging Bull?
I wrote down my favorite line in the film, which, I mean, that is so good. But this line I wrote down straight away. It's the notice how you never see black in a rainbow. Do you remember that line?
Yeah, with Toot, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're talking about the pot at the end.
Yeah, I love that line.
I thought
it's like just so representative of what this film's trying to convey.
Yeah.
And again, going back on that sort of Western culture sort of rolling through and changing. And I think it's, I don't know whether to say destroying their culture, but definitely shifting it. It's just so important. So
Absolutely. I think the movie is about the way that, again, as we've said, without excusing it, that Jake has become a man who is at a crossroads, or he's like at a point where he has no sense of belonging as someone as part of the colonized New Zealand and as a Maori warrior. So he resorts to anger and the frustration of being thought of as a slave by the Maori and being thought of as just like, as just a brown guy or a black guy by the white invaders. I think one of the most devastating lines in the movie is the scene where Jake gives Beth the money and he says, come sit on my lap like you love me. And she does, and she says, that's the problem, Jake. I do. And I was like,
It's the whole thing.
I think I
wrapped
liked
up.
this more. The more I'm talking about it, I'm like, I think this is more. I'm throwing in my own power up higher as I'm talking about it. I can't believe how good this movie is.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
do it. We've still got more to cover. But
Well, should we do MVP?
hold on.
We should do
Yeah, let's do
MVP.
that.
Before we do MVP, very, very
God.
quickly, we haven't talked about Grace's funeral.
Okay.
They have the funeral. She takes Beth takes her back to the traditional burial ritual, and everyone has something. Whether it's Beth talking about how she kept a promise to not return home, but she's so sorry that she kept that promise, right?
Yeah.
That because she thinks if she hadn't kept it, she would have got them home. When Boogie starts singing, and so everything he's learned, and you think the foreshadowing of the movie would be, well, he's going to do the haka at some point.
Yeah.
But no, it's this beautiful, mournful singing. And Toot leans over and kisses her, and he says, that's all I meant, Grace. Best friends, right?
That's the line. That's
Actually
the
just
line.
need to
Oh
lean
my
back.
gosh. Oh my gosh. That's all I meant.
That is the
And then
line of the
Boogie goes,
movie.
she loved you, man. And you're like, yeah, she did. Like, they were best friends and they used to just hang out every night in his car
And they
under
had,
the bridge.
They had 3 scenes together,
Yeah.
and I felt all of that.
yeah,
It's
even though we said
so
he was one of the
well
weaker
established.
actors in the film, it doesn't matter. It just carries.
I agree.
The line, my favorite line is, let's say Grace.
Yeah.
Grace.
That's so funny.
The kid says Grace. Beautiful.
So fair.
All right, MVP.
MVP.
I mean, I don't think it's difficult. I think we're probably all on the same page. But
Say it in unison. 1, 2, 3.
Rita Owen.
Yep. She's so
I-
good. Oh my God.
You know what I
She's so lovely.
didn't do, and I should have done this because it sounds like the sort of thing I would have done, which is look up the best actress nominees for this year at the Academy Awards and see, because like I would
Interesting.
struggle to think. I can't imagine there's another performance from this year that if I'd been alive, I would have been like, oh, that performance was. I think this is just one of the best performances I've ever seen.
So this has been 1995 Oscars, right?
Well,
that's come out in 94?
Yes.
Yes,
The film's in
yeah.
94.
Susan Sarandon for The Client, Jessica Lange for Blue Sky, Jodie Foster for Neil, Winona Ryder for Little Women, lol,
Yeah.
and Miranda Richardson for Tom and Viv.
Jessica Lange wins, and I think it's Jodie Foster for Nell.
Neil Armstrong.
Why was she not nominated in this?
I'm just saying, like,
This category.
I have seen
crazy.
2 of those movies, and I haven't seen most of them. Nell apparently is very weird.
I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but that's 5 white women.
I mean,
Like,
it's
yeah,
not-
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not- it's
No,
the
five.
Oscars
That's
in the
also
90s.
that's also 5 films you just said that I have not seen.
You've seen Little Women, right?
The original.
Winona.
Yeah, Winona.
Oh,
That's your
yeah.
favorite Little Women.
I have.
I've heard
This is your
Sorry.
joke.
No, I know it was my joke. Sorry, I barely remember it. It was a joke.
It was so long.
It was ages ago. It was months ago.
no,
I
but
would-
for real though.
Rena
Yeah,
Owens
yeah.
should have won every award ever. She should have won Best of the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, she's just so good in this movie.
I think
truly remarkable.
It's a harsh criticism to say this film falls flat without her, but I think it wouldn't have landed the way it has. I think without her performance.
Oh, yeah. There's no movie without.
I think the two of them at the top,
He's incredible.
they're
as well,
leading
don't get
from
me
the
wrong.
front. Like it is
Oh,
such
yeah,
there's
yeah.
such a strong sort of the
The reason why I didn't give this like a 10 or higher is from a filmmaking perspective, and again, it is with a 90s lens. There's some issues. You know, you look at the choreography of some of the fights and things like that.
Yeah.
Pulling their punches. I am convinced, and I'd love to look this up too, if that probably didn't even use stunties. It feels pretty much like they've just thrown the actors in here. and
Yeah,
said,
just try not to hit each other. You'll be right.
basically.
Yeah,
And
that's
you
what it feels
you
like.
can tell because there's a lack of technique again to a lot of the fights and the combat, to
So how-
just the movement. Some of the performances, I know we've touched on, seem a bit wooden. Some are not. It's not a perfect film.
I don't think so.
No,
No.
it's very well made, but it's
Dated. You
a
know, when
budget.
you watch a film, you're like, it feels dated, but
Yeah,
I'm buying
but
it.
also set in time. Like it
is.
It's sort of like a time capsule.
It is,
It's
it is.
$950,000 is the budget.
That's it.
Not even $1 million.
Made 6.7, which I think made it the
huge.
most in New Zealand exclusively. It might probably made a little bit more overseas, which made it the highest grossing film in New Zealand, just like for that country.
Wow.
Till Boy, I think. So it was like 16 years
Oh,
till another
boy.
film came along and actually just made that much. Oh boy.
Ooh, boy.
Shot, so I just want to also, it's shot in 34 days.
Yeah.
That's so
really?
fast.
Unheard
that is-
of.
that is-
Incredible.
wow.
And that's why, it's like, maybe some of the fights, they're like, we don't have time. Move on. Like,
Yeah.
they were just parent. But to get those performances in 34
Especially
days.
considering a
and-
lot of this is night shooting.
Yeah.
So
Ugh,
you are
exhausting.
really, and apparently the neighborhood they filmed it in, they kept getting complaints.
Really?
Which
Yeah.
you would just be like,
The neighbours.
you
Surely word them up.
murdering someone
Yeah.
over there.
Surely word up the neighbours.
Yes, you think
Some of the bar scenes, I think, was, I guess, my grievance. Like, gun to head, if I had to pick a problem with the film, I don't like the open setting of the bar and coming back to that. It felt very staged. It felt very like
when everything else feels like we just shot
Warehousing?
it at this guy's house, like everything's in a real location. This
Yeah.
felt, I see your point.
in a way, and you know the karaoke singer and all that sort of stuff, and
Yeah.
some of it felt a bit campy and a bit like
Yeah.
that. I think that's where the dated sort of filming to me didn't quite land.
I don't disagree with that. I think there's a sort of like there's a charm to that on some level, but yes, there are aspects of it. Even just certain lines. If we're really going to talk about like performances that for a second took me out of it,
Sure.
The two cops, which is such a small thing, they're not very
Yeah.
good.
No,
like the two
no.
cops who bring Boogie home,
I
I
didn't mind it.
because
I
they
thought-
just feel so like they're
felt like they're
holding
off,
up cue cards behind.
Yeah,
them.
they felt like they're off the set of Mad Max 1.
Sure.
I felt like they were off the set of how to say
Blue
this?
Heelers.
Like, hey, I'm a cracker, like white boy, like square white men.
That's my favourite TV show.
You know what I mean?
Wait a second.
Cracker White Boy,
You just
season
said-
2.
How do I say this? Yeah, I'm a cracker white boy is what you went
You
with.
know what I mean, though. Hey, way to make the white
Was he
people
just racist towards
nerdy.
white people?
Yeah.
I don't know what
He
that
got
was.
there
Yeah.
somehow.
I'll take it. Sorry.
so funny.
We want to quickly talk about this is Lee Tamahori's first actual feature
Do we
film.
go Butler's Pantry for this?
Okay, well, we don't have time for March, so let's go.
Tamahori.
In a pantry with a mic.
You can't go.
version.
Oh, sorry. I was going
One
to
of us-
say, you can't go Butler's Pantry until I've pressed the button.
I apologize. One of us should have said choice during the break there.
Were you going to fit that whole
when
sentence
was
in there, by the way? Were you going to fit that whole
was gonna
sentence in that
give it- oh,
little
yeah.
break? Yeah, okay.
I was like, I can do it.
You can't do the whole
You got to wait for the button.
when was the last time you guys heard choice used this much?
That's choice, bro.
It's so
Choice,
good how
bro.
much they choice. When she
When
said
she
it
said-
was real impressive.
Yeah.
What's
What's
impressive?
impressive?
Choice.
choice.
There are sweet moments in this movie. Yes, the director of this film, he went on to make Along Came Spider, which is the Alex Cross movie, but he also directed Die Another Day.
Yeah.
Which I had no idea. It's such a strange.
Really?
Yeah, he directed the last
Not-
Pierce Brosnan and the best Pierce Brosnan movie.
Which
Pierce Brosnan
No one
movie?
pushing. No one
Yeah.
pushing back on that.
Well, there's
Die Another Day.
hold on. Don't forget Mamma Mia. When you're gone.
this
Okay.
is that's a whole different topic. I'll
Also,
discuss
Triple X,
later.
The Next Level.
Yes.
Oh,
And a couple of
Jesus.
episodes. He did
Not
this-
even the first Triple X.
Yeah, no, not even the worst one.
He directed an episode of The Sopranos, which I
Yeah.
think is fascinating.
Really?
He directed season 2, episode 3, Toodle Fucking Ooh, which you might
That's
only.
the greatest episode. That's where Paulie does the drugs. And he says, Toodle fucking doo.
Do you
My
remember?
God, he's right.
You've seen it. Do you remember? Because you've seen the whole thing at this point.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Don't turn your back on me.
the
I've
scene-
seen it.
Do you remember the scene where Melfi,
remember
the
the
therapist,
time?
sees Tony with his friends in public?
Yes.
And it's and she goes
Yeah, the dinner.
toodaloo.
Yes.
And then it cuts
And then
to
she
her
goes,
therapy
why
scene
did I
and
do
she's
that?
like,
And then she goes, why did I say
"Shut up,
that?
Frank."
That's what she's talking to her therapist. It's like, whoa, way to flip the narrative. It's so good. I love The Sopranos.
Forget about it. Forget about it. Forget about
Okay, is anyone going to throw anything and tell Nova you've already thrown in your own
Blood
power?
pressure.
Oh, who cares about your blood pressure, you
it. He
old
finished the
fuck?
pantry. Are we out? Are we out?
Yeah,
of the
I hope
pantry?
so. We
Yeah,
have to
great.
be. Is anyone throwing anything in?
Tom, I want you to go first.
Yeah, I'm going to go up to a 9.7.
Yeah.
I just, every time I mentioned a part of this movie I loved, I was like, and I mentioned her monologue at the end, I was like, giving myself, like, I felt feeling like I was levitating.
Yeah,
saying
you're a
it.
really good actor. That's
Thanks,
true.
man. Appreciate that.
Marcus?
This film's a 10.
We are.
Hey.
Didn't impress it.
Awesome.
I wanted to gauge the room on the feeling, the general feeling here.
Yeah,
and-
'cause
and
we
you
were
guys have
upset.
reinvigorated my love for this. I felt bad giving it a higher score because I thought I was going to get torn to shreds.
No.
I think it's so upsetting, but in such a beautiful, caring kind of way.
It's a similar thing. I remember you coming in with The Exorcist, and I was really surprised at you being like, this is a good movie. Like, it's
I
so...
pee my pants, but
But I pee my heart as well.
I was going to say, it kept me warm, but that's fine. I'm throwing it as well. I'm going up to a 7.5. Maybe even an 8.
oh,
You know what I mean? That's good.
I
you
don't
just
think,
double
really,
up?
real quick, historically, I don't think we've ever, all three of us, gone up in an episode before. It's the first
Oh, well,
time.
I've gone up lots of times.
an octave maybe.
I'm gonna throw it up. I'm not really warmed up.
Can you
so-
sing What's the Time, Mr. Wolf, for us?
What's the time, Mr. Wolf?
What's the time?
Like, no, turn your mic down. Thanks for listening, everybody. That was Once Warriors. I'm Frank.
I'm Marcus.
I'm Tom.
See you next week. And we'll do the credits in a second.
Welcome to the
Thanks.
credits. My name is Marcus.
My name's Tom.
I don't know what we're doing anymore.
Those were the credits.
Send us a message, DM, Instagram, email, throwinthepowell@gmail.com. Was that right?
That's correct.
You got it! You got it!
Send us some pics.
You remember the name of the title and at gmail.com.
Yeah.
Bye. Love you. Screaming as well.